I am a genius. What do you think about these new designs? It's time for my 1 week review of the Casio WS-1700H, and we're also going to test swapping its internal module with this Casio Royale. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into what I liked about this watch. First of all, I love how relatively simple it is to set up the moon and tide graph. You've only got to do it one time and you don't need a silly app, unlike the more advanced GBX 100, which was extremely frustrating to set up. All you have to do with this one is go into the adjustment menu, press adjust one more time, and with a couple of details like your UTC time zone and your longitude, you'll be automatically updated with the most relevant moon and tide graphs for your area. And the cool thing is, at the press of a single button, you can actually ascend forward in dates. So I'm going forward to the 18th, 19th, and see how the moon phases are actually adjusting there. And as you can see, we are now at a full moon, and I know that's going to be on the 23rd of Feb. I love that this watch has an auto repeat function on its timer. Now, as you may remember, I love cooking steaks with my watches, but lately I have become obsessed with trying to cook the perfect grilled cheese. Check this out. Am I making you hungry? I also enjoyed the hefty 10 bar 100 meter water resistance, which obviously had no problems holding up to my hot showers every day. Hit it, Bubble. Bubble says to ram that like button. I also like this intuitive little symbol for the backlight indicator. So while we're in adjustment mode, we just press the light button. See how those bars swap between 1 and 3? And that represents the duration that your backlight will stay on. Another cool little symbol Casio has added, keep your eyes just under the P there, they've actually got a little A to represent AM now, which I thought was quite clever as it means there's no ambiguity as to whether you're in 24-hour mode. Now there is a bit of controversy about this symbol, so stay tuned for that shortly. And of course, all of these symbols can be accessed by holding these 3 buttons down to get into the LCD test. Doesn't that look awesome? And I really do like this snooze alarm. As you can see, our snooze alarm is going off. All we do to prove that we're really awake and we want to disable snooze, simply hold down the setting menu and let's exit that. And the snooze alarm has been disabled. It is no longer blinking. Channel Kerr asked how loud this alarm really is. Well, see for yourself. Next, I just overall love the way this watch looks. It really fits the part of being a cool gadget. And something awesome I noticed about the colorways actually is that this grey one here actually has a different coloured analog digital dial, unlike the other two. By the way, guys, now's a great time to check out the new Goat Crew membership offerings on Patreon or YouTube membership, as I've just updated both of them. There's no more Goat Kid, you're either a Goat Crew or a Goat King, and they've each got excellent benefits like access to new videos early and etc. So go check it out, I'll leave links for you below. I also like that there's a little shortcut key to mute these button sounds, which some might find annoying. You just hold down the mode button, and after a few seconds, you'll see that little mute symbol show up there. Now, personally, I actually like having the button sounds on. It helps me know what I'm doing, but I'd love to hear what you guys reckon below. I also like this awesome animation in the stopwatch mode, as you can see with the little Ana-Digi display up there, and that also applies to the timer. See how the little inner digits there represent the 10 minutes? And if I start that, you'll see that the 59 seconds are ticking down as well. Now, I will say that this comes at a cost, because while that animation is cool, it isn't exactly useful. You do have the time right there after all. Something I would have rather seen is what they did on the LF20W, which is here if you missed our review for this one. And the way they've implemented this is so intuitive. Look at the analog digital display there. We can tell that it is 4:46 p.m. But if we start our 5-minute timer, it's not affecting it. It's just going to keep telling us the time. The same thing goes for the stopwatch mode as well. You'll only see an animation up here, but our analog time is going to stay put. Now, what would you guys have preferred? To see the original time or to have this cool animation playing there? Let me know. I really like the way Casio has coloured the different sections of the display. It's something I'm much more used to seeing on modified watches with a screen filter like my LF20W. I also can't wait for us to take this thing apart shortly because I'd love to see how they have subdivided the screen. If you'd like to obtain the elusive Casio WS-1700H, I'll be updating a link for you below. Now, let's go through the things that I dislike about this watch, and we are starting with the elephant in the room. This watch has one major flaw that are making some people send it back to Casio. This issue is to do with the dual time mode, and it's something I covered in depth in my short video here if you missed it. But basically, the dual time is unable to update between AM and PM. As you'll see, we can adjust the hours up. We are at 8 AM at the moment, and it simply will not go to PM. Now you can try putting this into 24-hour mode. You can try going backwards, as one of my viewers suggested. It does not matter. Dual time is not working. Now, this issue is something that's been talked about a lot, and I would really like to know what you think about this issue. Is it something that bothers you, or do you not really care? I will say that it is definitely uncharacteristic by Casio to have this glaring imperfection. I don't know how it's got through quality control. However, for me personally, I don't really use dual time and I'm not that fazed by it. So I'm going to keep this watch and continue to use it, knowing that dual time isn't really going to work. With that big one out of the way, the next major issue I had with this watch is with this awful keeper on the straps. And it's all to do with this gap on top of it, okay? What that means is that when you try and put the strap through, it gets jammed. And it's almost as bad as the SKME 1988, which we reviewed here. Take a look at this. This is the worst keeper I have ever seen. It is fully separate and just gets absolutely jammed and even is able to thread all the way through. And also, these ridges below the strap are so pronounced that sliding the keeper becomes absolutely impossible when you are wearing the watch. So if I put that in like that, it is such a pain to try and move this up and down. It just has so much force behind it. But luckily, these issues with the strap and keeper might be something I can fix as we modify this watch coming up. Next, there is one step of setting up the moon and tide graph that is a little bit confusing. So you know your longitude and you'd expect that the next input to be your latitude, but actually it just says int. Now I found this very confusing and I had to look it up. What it actually stands for is lunar tidal interval, and it's something you will have to look up one time and key it in to match your location so that you can have your moon and tide graph working. Now, speaking of tide, yes, the little section here does get the job done to adequately tell you whether you're in a high or low tide. However, I much prefer the visual appeal of the way they did it on the Baby G, which we got for my wife in this video here. As you can see, it's just a lot cleaner and easier to tell. I also found that the digits, while in the backlight mode, fade at certain angles. See what I mean? Next up, it's these buttons, which are quite simply too close together. I found myself struggling to find the backlight button at night, thinking it would be up there. Even after 1 week, I'm still not used to it, so something you need to be mindful of. And lastly, this thing is big. I had multiple people think that it was a G-Shock, when in fact it's a normal Casio watch and offers none of the shock resistance capabilities. So keep that in mind if you're buying one of these. My wrist size is 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters, but if your wrist is any smaller than that, it might run a little bit large. Now let's take a look at some of the nickname suggestions that you guys came up with for this watch in the unboxing video. And make sure you're a subscriber so you can contribute to community suggestions like these. The unique suggestions were Spiderbot, Casio Royale Tactica, Fisher King, and Casio Royale. But ultimately, it turns out that this watch already has a nickname. As 3 separate people told me, apparently it's called the Sailor Moon. Now, I'm not sure I agree with this anime girl for such a badass watch, but what do you think? Smash that like button because now it's time for the module swap between these two awesome Casio watches. Let's get started. right, here it is. Now, as you can see, there is quite a thick amount of plastic in this bezel, which is housing this inner module. We're going to put this on our little module tray here, but just before we do, let's have a... Oh, look at that! Look at that! That's how they've subdivided the little coloured sections on the LCD there. Absolutely fascinating. Well, let's start by putting this Royale module into the housing of the WS-1700. Hey, is it just me, or does that not fit snugly? What's going on here? For some reason, these modules do not want to go down all the way. See, look at how tall that is. So look, the reality is it just doesn't go down as far, which means perhaps Casio has deliberately made them a different size so that they're not compatible. There's the face plates. As you'll notice, the edges actually have a slightly different pattern. Okay, I've put down 2 screws just to hold it into place so you can see there is no way this thing is going to go down without wrecking something. So look, that's what it would have looked like. Honestly, that is pretty cool with the AE module inside the 1700's housing. But unfortunately, guys, we are not going to be able to complete this today because I just quite simply do not want to trim and ruin these original faceplates to get them to fit. Okay? What do you think about these new designs? The WS-1700 certainly looks a lot sleeker in the housing of the Royale, doesn't it? By the way, guys, as I said, I have seen photos of people who have successfully completed this mod. I wonder whether they just jammed it in and screwed it anyway, or whether they actually trimmed the faceplates. If you do know how it was done, please let me know below. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, even if it did fit, I was planning on swapping them back because I do actually not mind the bulkiness of this, and I would like to keep it true to its original form. There they are. Back to their former glory. Now, ideally, I want to replace these straps with a NATO, which will require an adapter, but I only have 16 to 22 mil adapters, and I'm pretty sure that these look like 18 millimeter lugs. So we are going to give this a try and see if we can make it work. Now, I have a strap that I would be so keen to get onto this watch if we can find a way. Here it is. I would love to get this orange and black NATO on this bad boy. Just imagine how cool that would look. Yeah, look at that. It would fit nicely, but there is a little bit of wiggle room because it's only 16 mils, not 18. So I need to find a way to get this to stick. Okay, I've got an idea. What about this? It's this double-sided foam tape, and I honestly reckon that it's probably, if we measure it against here, it's probably about a mil. Honestly, it's a little bit bigger than a mil, but because it's foam, it can get squashed, okay? So we're going to give this a shot. Oh yeah, that can work. I am a genius. Yes, yes. Okay, let's get the other one done. Oh yeah, look at that. No wiggle. Nice and sturdy, and that is an absolutely perfect fit from above. I am so happy with that, guys. Doesn't matter that it was the wrong size, we made it fit. All right, now we got to try some straps on. Look, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with this one, but we'll see what else we've got. Oh, actually, that could be awesome as well. That's not good. Ugh. Look at that, that spring bar's just boosted through. Nah, I don't like that. See how it's popping out there? Same problem. It's just, what? Like these holes are just too big and it's just kind of slipping through. So that's another issue we got to deal with. So here's what I've done. I've made these little square pieces of black tape and I've put them down over these holes, and hopefully that's going to give the little spring bars just that little bit extra grip so that they won't bulge through. Yeah, so check it out. I've put one of the spring bars in temporarily and it's made this nice little dent and it's not shooting out the other end. So I reckon this is a perfect solution. Oh yeah, look at that. Let's get it on. All right, you ready? Boom. There it is on the lovely red and black NATO strap or Zulu strap. Let me know what you think down below. Now let's get this orange one on for a test. All right, you ready for this one? Boom. Oh yeah, that looks super cool as well. Let me know down below, which one did you prefer, the orange NATO or the red? Now here's the part where you come in. I need help deciding on our next watch of the week. On the left, we have the Freestyle Shark watch in some amazing colours. This is a surfy watch brand I've never experienced before that I'm super excited to try. And on the right, we have the SKME 2091, a digital analog watch that kind of reminds me of a Casio watch face. And this one was a viewer suggestion. To cast your vote, head over to the Goat Reviews YouTube profile, click on the community tab, and there you'll see the community poll to cast your vote. Here's some more great content for you to watch next, and here's a link to my YouTube membership page. Come and join the Goat crew for some awesome benefits. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.